Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Geordie Pride. Today we're joined by two wonderful ladies who are not only transforming lives but they're redefining leadership and authenticity as well, and they are Donna Elliott and Cheryl Lee, the dynamic duo behind Now Is Your Time. And Donna and Cheryl, they're not only the co-founders of this wonderful initiative but they're also creators of the Real You programme, authors of the #1 bestseller Become the Real You, and TEDx speakers. They have over 20 years experience of senior leadership roles in the corporate world, and they've now channeled that wonderful experience into their own coaching business. And their mission is powerful and it's clear, and it's all about helping women break free from limiting beliefs, imposter syndrome and fear. And they're dedicated to guiding women to become the best versions of themselves, harnessing the inner power that we all have to live a radically authentic life. And it's not just about their professional expertise as well, and we'll touch on this in the discussion, but Donna and Cheryl bring their personal journeys and their life lessons into the mix, making their approach really, really relatable. Their work has not only touched lives on an individual level, but they've also made waves in the corporate world. They've worked with world-renowned clients such as the BBC, Adobe, Sage and Amex, and their insights have been featured in publications such as Health and Wellbeing and Glamour magazine. So today in this discussion, we dive into their journey and all of the wisdom that they've gained along the way. And before you start listening, I just need to apologise for my sound quality. Everyone else sounds wonderful. My microphone, not so much, so hopefully it's not too off-putting. But without further ado, let's welcome Donna and Cheryl to Geordie Pride. You're listening to Geordie Pride, Voices from the Northeast. I'm Hayley, and alongside my cousin Angela, we're thrilled to bring you the stories that share the heart and soul of the northeast of England. Each episode, we'll dive into the lives of extraordinary Geordies and those who call the northeast home, exploring their journeys and celebrating their achievements. From the time to the teas, from the arts to the sports fields, we're here to share the tales of passion, resilience, and of course, Geordie Pride. So whether you're from Whitley Bay or Washington, Gateshead or Gisborough, or you're just fascinated by the spirit of the Northeast, join us as we natter with the best the Northeast has to offer. Hello everyone and welcome to Geordie Pride, Voices from the Northeast. I'm Hayley Forster and I'm here with my co-host Angela Angus, and today we are so excited to have two very special guests, Donna Elliott and Cheryl Lee from Now Is Your Time. Welcome to the show, Donna and Cheryl.
Hello, it's so nice to be here, ladies.
Hey. Nice to have you. So we'll just dive straight into the meat of it. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourselves and your background in the Northeast, how you know each other?
Yes. I mean, we've known each other, it's literally 20 years now, isn't it? Which I can't believe. Like, it's crazy. Cheryl's little girl was a little girl and now she's 26, which is insane. But we've known each other for 20 years. We actually met when we worked in corporate. We both started at the same organisation at the same month, didn't we? We started within a few weeks of each other, and we were just we just gravitated towards each other really quickly, didn't we? I was going through just after I met Cheryl. I started going through divorce proceedings, so it was like Cheryl came into my life like at the perfect time, and I had not long moved back up here from Liverpool. So I didn't really have like a lot of friends around and stuff, and so it's like a new job, new friends. Partying.
Of course.
Good show.
Of course, had perks.
I gave her an introduction to the Glass Spider.
Yeah, which is like a club in Sunderland. Is it still there?
No.
Oh my God. We would literally go in some nights and then come out and it was daylight.
Yeah.
And I couldn't go to work in 2 hours. Yes. And I mean, bearing in mind it was like 30 at the time. It's not like we were 18. No. So we've known each other for all that time, but we left that company, 11 years ago, and we always said we would work together again one day, like that pipe dream of one day we'll have a business or we'll work together, we'll do coaching together. And then 6 years ago this year, it's our birthday, we actually made it happen, and now your time was born, and we get to be together every day, chill out, run retreats around the world, coach women to become the best versions of themselves, and that's what we do.
Oh, sounds like a dream. Do you want to tell me a little bit more about now is your time? I'll get my words out in a second.
Yes. So when the business was born really when my dad passed away in May 2018, and I was grieving along the house in a onesie in June, watching 8 seasons of Game of Thrones
back to back.
Walking around the house crying, and whilst Donna was having a moment of, she set up a coaching business 20 years ago, having a bit of a like fuck me moment, what we're doing with our lives. So as I was in grieving stage, she was planning world domination, looking at like, what if we went out to the world and started to talk to women about all the things that we've been through, and talk about imposter syndrome and not knowing who you are and losing yourself and not feeling good enough, not feeling worthy. So after I'd had my dad's funeral, I came along to HQ, and Donna was like, I've got this idea. Why don't we set up an online coaching business to help women across the world? And I was like, I'm in. So we didn't really know what we were doing. We've never been entrepreneurs. We didn't know if it was going to work, but we just sat down. We like hired some online coaching programs that will literally help you set a business up. And we worked through the program and talked about all of the things that we'd been through combined. We've been through a lot of shit together.
A lot of shit.
Before we met each other and whilst we've been together. And we thought, well, if we can get ourselves to this point, then any woman can. So we went out and started talking about our stories and the work that we'd done on our mindset to help ourselves set up our dream life. And now we've got a very different life to what we had in corporate. We're having burnout and imposter syndrome, feeling the need to prove ourselves. And we just wanted to go to women and go, look, if you feel like this, burnt out, lacking confidence, have imposter syndrome, don't know who the fuck you are, we can help you to actually feel confident, to know who the real you is. And instead of you taking the 10, 15 years that we've taken to get to that point, here's a program that we can take you through to help you feel like this. And literally that's how it started. We sat in the kitchen in the June after we set our business up and wrote a program on an A4 sheet of paper based on everything we'd been through. And that program is still running now and has had hundreds of women mainly go through the program. So that's what we do. We help women to feel confident, to set up businesses, to create their dream lives, to be able to have balance in their life so they can go and drop the kids off and pick the kids up from school like Donna does, to be able to travel with their families and basically show them that even though we're 2 middle-aged women, we're in our 40s when we set the business up, haven't got superpowers. If we can do that and create our dream lives and travel all over the world coaching women, then anyone can, because there's nothing special about us. We just decided to use our life lessons and turn them into programs to help other women do the same.
Everything that you mentioned there, I mean, I completely resonate with it because that's something that I've been through with burnout and corporate and everything like that. But it is so common. Like there's so many people out there that feel exactly the same. I know me and Angela have talked about it in the past, and it's so in need, isn't it?
There was something happened when Davey died. Like it was because obviously Cheryl was just in grief. We knew he'd been poorly, but it just then happened so quickly at the end. And it was like, fuck me, like this is it, people. Like one day that will be us as well. And something just clicked in that. Yes, I had this consultancy. I was teaching, going into businesses and helping them reorg and restructure, make people redundant, hire people over there and close that. And it was like, is this really what I want my legacy to be? Really? Like what? And I'd always had this inkling about, like Cheryl said, 20 years ago, bought a coaching domain, did nothing with it. I didn't know what to do with it. And again, even this, when we're talking about it now, the world has changed so much since COVID. Like I didn't know if you could coach people. I didn't know what Zoom was. I was like, how would you even coach them without having them come to your house? I just had this image of charging £50 an hour and people coming and sitting. I was like, I don't want to be a therapist. So I didn't even know if it was a thing, right? It was like, is it even a thing? But we just started out, my intentions that were on the table that day when I had this epiphany, it's all I can describe it as. It was literally like a lightning bolt. And when I look at it, there'd been lots of little synchronicities and universal nudges leading up to that. Was, we're not saying, come and look at us, we've done it, we've cracked it. It's literally like, let's just have the fucking conversation. When you turn up to work with your gorgeous clothes on and your makeup telling everyone that everything's fucking fine, it really probably isn't. Like, can we just be real for a minute and just talk about what's going on behind those closed doors, about miscarriage and infertility and not feeling worthy because we're adopted, or divorce, or abusive menopause, right? I mean, I wasn't there at the time, but we'll talk about that now. We just go talking. It's like, oh, fine, and everyone's shiny on the outside and broken on the inside a lot of the time. But we have this shame and all this. So it really just started off being like, what if we could just help one woman not feel shit about herself for being human and normal? Like, what if we just had the conversation, shared what we've been going through, and see what happens? And that was literally the intention. And it just blew up. It was just insane. I remember the first post I did on LinkedIn about having imposter syndrome and what it's like to sit in a boardroom as sometimes the only female voice and be told that, you know, that you're emotional, where the male counterparts are just passionate, and being looked at like, oh, is it your time of the month then, love? Because you're sitting saying to them, it's not acceptable. Do you know what I mean? Like, what that's actually like when you've got imposter syndrome and you already don't feel like you belong at the fucking table. You know what I mean? It got something like 8,500 views in about an hour. It was ridiculous. And it just kept getting more and more comments of people saying, God, this is me. This is me. Because people just weren't talking about that stuff in our circles. So you had coaches over here talking about it, but people who were in the boardrooms experiencing it didn't feel like they could have that conversation because then there's something wrong with you. You know, I just think from there, it was just like we took the lid off this conversation and everybody was like, let's have a voice. And we've had these conversations in forums with HR people. And people would say to us, you know, they're probably not going to say a lot because, you know, they'll not want to be tarnished with the brush of having imposter syndrome, you know, like it's like leprosy, or they'll not want to like make it look like their company's not dealing with it. And every single time we are blown away by how honest, how open they're being about their experience of feeling like they're being bullied or not understood, or being given men who are 20 years older than them to coach them when that's not, they don't understand them and they don't get them. They don't, you know, and they're called John. No offense, John, but you're wearing patches on your shoulders. You've never known what it's like to drag your child screaming off you and peel them off you and put them into nursery, sit and cry in the car, redo your fucking mascara, and then go into a boardroom and look like you know what you're talking about. And all you think about is, will my child ever forgive me? John doesn't really understand what that's like 99.9% of the time. You know, so it's like there was just all these things, and we just started talking about our experiences. We didn't have any clients, did we? We didn't know at that point. We're just like, let's just talk.
We didn't have any clients for a year. We just sat in the kitchen building lead pages and mail lists and Facebook platforms and Instagram pages and LinkedIn. Like, we didn't have a fucking clue what we were doing.
It was
for a year.
I didn't have one client.
We had one client, but it
for
took
6 months.
It took like, yeah.
And then we're like, oh no, it's a business. We need to actually coach these people as well. Do you want to work with us? That's how you work with us. And then it just kept snowballing and snowballing and snowballing. It went from this us around the kitchen table scratching our heads in the first year to being a £1 million business within 4 years. Like, it blew our minds how fast it just went kaboom. And then the book came out, and now the TEDx talk's out there. And we're just so glad that people are just freaking talking about it. And we're like, we are middle-aged women from the northeast of England. We don't have fancy accents. I have back fat. I have a nose like Barbara Streisand, and like, if we can go and do this, anybody can. Like, anybody can.
Oh, 100%. And that's what I get from you guys. It's like, it's just so inspiring is probably the biggest word that I get when I think of you, and reality as well. It's like, I came from a very corporate background where people wouldn't like to discuss things like mental health and the stuff going on at home, and that's ultimately why I struggled in that environment, because I'm a very real person. I talk about stuff that people don't like to talk about, and that is why I love people in the online space to talk about stuff like that, because you need that. You need people to go, yeah, we're not all perfect. And I think when I first started off kind of creeping out of the corporate world, I was very much seeing a lot of perfection, and I didn't know where I sat in that. Very, very difficult. But then you start to find your people. You start to find those of the people online that it just resonate with you and how you think and feel. And for me, that is definitely you ladies, because I'm from the Northeast, same as you guys. I don't have a posh accent. I've got back fat too, and I don't have the nicest of nose. So this is like seeing people that are achieving the things that you are, and you can see yourself in them. It's just so empowering. I know, like Angela's, like she's very much wanting to get into like owning her own business, and well, you do work yourself anyway, but moving into a more of an established business side of things. And she read your bio when I passed it to her. I'm just like, oh wow.
You might have a new client.
Welcome, come on in. And like, not everybody, and we say this all the time, we're not like, you know, screw the corporate, like at all. Like, we want change to be effective from the inside of the corporate companies as well. Like, a lot of our clients are still in corporate at all different levels and different organizations, and affecting change from within, which is amazing as well. It's not about you have to work with incentives. It's about like, what makes your heart sing, and are you really living into that? Like, if you're living a life where you feel like the lady I chatted to this morning, she's like, I've got this great job, I earn a fuck ton of money, everyone's looking at my life like, God, it's amazing. She said, but I don't love it. I feel like I'm not fulfilled. Like, I'm not really leaving a legacy that I'm, especially when you got kids. I think I'm like, what's my kid going to say when he stands up one day and I'm the one in the box? Like, I want him to be like beaming with pride and celebrating, not like, oh, you know, she came, she went to work, and I never saw her because she was always at work, which was my reality for the first 4 years of Caleb's life. I worked in corporate and I wasn't in the Northeast. I was away. I was every single Monday, Sunday night, bags were packed. I was away Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, came home on a Thursday. If I was lucky, I was abroad. It sounds glam. It's not. You're in a bloody hotel, missing your kid, crying your leg off. I would memorize his storybooks, and my husband would hold the iPad up and turn the pages, and I would be reciting what was on that page of the book. Like, I would do anything to like try and insert myself into his life and still be part of his routine. But Cheryl was the one that was here at 6:45 in the morning, taking him to nursery for us, you know? So I just, when people were like, that first coach we hired, and she said, what would success look like? It was simple. I would love to be able to take my son to school and pick him up again, because he was going to then be starting school in the September. And she was like, but that's possible for you. And I was like, well, it's not, because like, I don't live in La La Land. I earn all this money and I'm the breadwinner and I have to travel. And she said, but what if there was what if you could earn that money doing what you love? And it blew my mind, because I had just never thought of it. I was just like, well, no, people don't earn money coaching like they do. And she went, but how do you know that? And I didn't. But this is how we all live, aren't we? We're all going around from a working class area. People in my family didn't own businesses. You know, they all worked bloody hard, multiple jobs, worked till they pop their clogs. You know, they hope to get to retirement, and then they do, and then they're bloody ill. You know what I mean? Because they've worked that hard and never had holidays and stuff. Like, that's what I grew up seeing and experiencing in the northeast of England. So where would I get the notion from that I could have a business and travel and run retreats in chateaus? Like, people still look at, we've got 5 heads when we tell them something. Like, we're at the Super Bowl to say Snoop Dogg. It was business. Like, that was, we were in LA at the time before we went to Dallas to do a retreat. Everyone's like,
why not?
But it's like, it was possible. We just didn't know that it was possible for us.
Yeah, and you're totally right there. Like, I think being from the Northeast does contribute to that quite significantly, because both me and Angela are from a working class background. We've got mining heritage. Like a lot of our just grandparents were miners, and then the generation below, like they worked really hard, but they just worked jobs like, I mean, my mum was on disability benefits, but my dad was a car mechanic. It was a case of I didn't have anyone around me that was doing the things that people can do now. So why would you think that you can do that? Whereas when I moved down to West Yorkshire, yes, very similar, but I noticed there was a lot more entrepreneurial people here. And I remember having this discussion with you when I first met you ladies a few years ago.
Yeah.
Is that when I was thinking about starting my own business, there was loads of people here to connect with, lots of networking groups and people you could talk to about starting your own business and being who you want to be and finding your passion and your values and everything like that. And it was very, very driven. But then when it came to the Northeast, I felt like there wasn't as much of that about, and it's very hard to find like-minded individuals. And I know they're there. You guys are there, and you've worked with lots of people up there in the Northeast as well, so they're there. But it's harder to find, I think. And the more that we're able to stand up and wave and go, hi, I'm here, I'm from the Northeast, and I've achieved these amazing, wonderful things, the better it is, because you should never, in my opinion, be hindered by where you're from. If you've got the passion and the drive to do something and you want to change your life, then why shouldn't you? It shouldn't matter if you come from an NE postcode or not.
So
and that's
true.
what we talked about in our TEDx talk that we did. We did a TEDx talk in Middlesbrough in just November gone, and that's what our talk is about. Like, it doesn't matter where you're from, where you're born, how old you are, what sex you are, what gender you are. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, anyone has the opportunity to create whatever they want in their life. You just have to have the right mindset to be able to do it. You've got to have the right identity. You've got to know who you are and what you're capable of first, and believe it in your mind before you then will take the steps to go and do it, which is why mindset is so important, right?
So, and why you ladies are here.
Yeah. And well, it's not taught in schools, is it? This is the thing. It's like whenever I ask my son what he's learned that day in school, and I think he's not going to even remember this. Like studying the Romans, it's great, but to me, like teaching people how to think, especially from the age of being young, of you can be anything you want to be, is like my parents used to say to me, but like you said, Hayley, you're not seeing that in the reality around you. You're not. And we are products of our environment. Okay, so creating the inner environment so that you have these beliefs about your identity and what you can create, regardless of what you're seeing in your external reality. If we can teach kids that, and if we know that, and if we can teach adults that it doesn't matter what you've done up until this point, you can change that right now. In this moment, you can create a completely new life for yourself inside in your imagination, and then start seeing. And we see every day, the clients who work with every day, they'll sometimes change their life, things that they didn't think were possible, or they thought maybe they'd do like a pipe dream in 10 years. They're doing it in 3 to 6 months. Because once you start making those decisions and just seeing, like taking, like Cheryl always says, it's like having a pair of glasses on. I've said it's like Caleb got this VR headset for his birthday, and it's like you put it on, but actually you can see anything you want to, depending on the program that you put into it. Whether you want to go to the Masai Mara, you want to go to a ski lodge, and that's really all your brain is. It's a set of programs. And once you learn how to program whatever it is you want into it, anything becomes possible. We just don't know how to change the program a lot of the time.
I think it's the people that you surround yourself with as well, because I know that when in my previous life, my previous career, I certainly worked with a lady who knocked my confidence like no end. Said I couldn't do a lot of things, and then I thought, no, I can do it. But what she used to do is she was quite bullying as well. What she would say is like, oh yes, in front of people, yeah, you're doing a really good job, Angela. That's really good. And then as soon as the door was shut and it was just me and her in that room, she would be like, no, you haven't done that right. I need you to do that again. So it's like years of like being knocked down. And my parents, they were like, well, my dad was certainly career driven. He had his own businesses for a long time. So it was instilled in me that I had to do really well from the get-go, even though I didn't know what I wanted to do after I left school. And my mum, consequently, she had a lot of mental health issues as well, which I ended up being a carer for a long time. And still I didn't know what I wanted to do. And then it wasn't until I kind of left school and figured it all out, really. But yeah, I think a lot of it's to do with like self-confidence and people that you surround yourself with, whether it's positive people, get rid of the negative people if you can. Sometimes that can take a long time to work that out, though.
Well, you relate to a lot of them sometimes.
Yeah.
It's not always it's not always easy, is it? I mean, don't get me wrong, when we started our business, people very close to us were saying things like coaching, like on coach is just like 10 a penny. Like, isn't it like a saturated market? Like, how are you going to get people? Like, would people actually pay for that in the Northeast? Well, where are you going to, all of this resistance, and for us that's very normal. But like you said, if you're surrounded by those people and you've got nobody else on your island singing the same song as you, it can feel really, really lonely. So then you just follow it back up again and carry on doing and get back on the hamster wheel, because that's what everybody else is doing, because God forbid you look different or do different, and because you get criticized because people are looking at you through their lens of their limiting beliefs. So you have this thing in your heart that you want to write a book, or you want to be a ballet dancer, or you want to be on stage, or you want to run retreats, or you want to do whatever or have a baby, or whatever it is that you want to do. But sometimes you share that idea because people don't cheerlead you. You just turtle and then like take it all back. For us, that's why we create communities of women and communities of people, because the community element is so important. That old thing of like the average of the 5 people that you hang out with the most. So that's not always available to everybody in their immediate vicinity. Your families don't necessarily want you to give up a 6-figure job that pays for nice holidays and all the rest of it, because they're worried that it'll fail and you'll look stupid and you'll have shortage of money and all of the relative things that we think about. We are designed as humans to look at everything from a lens of fear, from a lens of ego, from that lens of what if it goes wrong, because your brain's designed to keep you safe. It doesn't give a fuck if you're happy. That's not its priority. It just doesn't want you to die. And it'll go, give up your job, you won't have money, you'll be living in your car, and it'll do all those things in like nanoseconds. So before you know it, that's why change is really hard. Have people around you who cheerlead the change in a safe way, and who give you the support you need and the tools and the knowledge and the proof that, look, it's possible because Jane over here has done it as well, and look, it's possible because Mel over here has done it as well. So then you start to go, well, what if I can do it? What if I can build the confidence as I go? Because if everybody's sitting waiting to have the confidence to do it and a zero self-doubt, would never get out of bloody bed, girls, would you? Like, we wouldn't. Like, we have gained confidence with this as we've gone. We didn't start off confident. There's still big things. We're shitting myself before the TEDx talk and stuff. At the thought of getting the paper, and I had such resistance to apply to be a speaker. But it's because you're always going to have a fear of failure. Like, that doesn't go away when you get a certain level of money, or you get a best-selling book, or you then worry about the next one. Like, that's part of our human design. It's acting despite that. That's what gets you closer to living the life that you want to live and appreciating the life that you've got right now.
Definitely. And do you think the Northeast and kind of growing up in the Northeast has contributed to the outlook that you have, that you've both got now? Do you think the Northeast has shaped you in some way?
Is it funny because I'm adopted, so when my mum and dad adopted me in 1972, I came to live in Sunderland. And when I was growing up, being a brown girl in a very white community back then, like in the 70s, so I went through school, not so much in the small schools. I didn't really notice probably as much, but then when it came to going to comprehensive school, I was literally just stood there in the middle of this massive school with brown hair that my mum used to brush out. So she didn't used to wear it curly, she would brush me hair. So I just had this mop of brushed out hair, just like so daunted. So I literally spent my teens I was a right little shit.
Spirited.
Because all I wanted to do was fit in. Obviously, I didn't know the time, I know this now in my 30s and 40s of doing all the work, but I just wanted to fit in, wanted to be like everyone else. I didn't want anyone to mention to us that I was a different colour than everyone else in the comprehensive school, apart from Zoe, who was in the year below me, and Mr. Morgan, the music teacher. Everyone else was white. So I just went through the whole of comprehensive school, fitting in, being with the cool ones, leaving school with like one qualification in childcare. And then going into my 20s, it was then when I like started to like go out clubbing and things and then meet people. And, you know, the unis were starting up in Sunderland. So it was getting a little bit more multicultural, like in terms of ethnicities and stuff like that. And then it was only as I moved into my 20s and 30s that I then started to find who I was when I went to do NLP, basically. So I'd spent all that time being from the Northeast, not really understanding why I was different, and spending all of these years trying to fit in. And then I literally went and studied neuro-linguistic programming NLP and realized that I didn't know who I was and I was lost. And I was like, oh my God. And then that was in my late 30s. I was a mum. I had Holly when I was 25. And then that was the moment when I realized I had didn't know who the real me was, didn't know who my identity was, and started to do loads of work on it. But then obviously Holly at this point, she's then grown up looking different, like having all of her stuff going on in Sunderland into comprehensive school. So she almost went on the same journey as I. It was different because obviously it was 25 years later, but having this identity thing, trying to fit in. But it was like that almost sparked something in me as well, because I'd gone through that and then had done lots of work on realizing who I was, which we use in the business. But it sparked something in us watching my daughter do that as well, like being from the Northeast, different in school. So I spent a lot of being a mum, not knowing any of this stuff. But now she's in her early 20s, we've passed a lot of it on, right? Same as Caleb, he's 11. Because we're doing this, when you do this work, you pass it on to your kids.
Of course, yeah.
So that's why we're even more passionate about hitting people earlier on with this information, with the mindset, with the identity. So it doesn't matter if you're from the Northeast, you can still change your mindset and do something about it. So I suppose when you say did it shape, mine was almost shaped in feeling different for many, many years, and then realizing that was the case, doing the work, and then being really passionate about not wanting other people to feel like that. That makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. And it's I noticed that when I was younger, I was at school, there was no other ethnicities, there was just white British people. And then when I came down to West Yorkshire, there was so many different ethnicities. And I know that, again, you've got a time difference. And it's so mixed and it's lovely. And it's just so nice to see that as well. Yeah. So because from the Northeast, I think the diversity is not big, is it?
No. And I think it shaped me and galvanized me in a different way to Cheryl. But it's I grew up on this council estate. And again, we're looking at the 70s, right? The 70s, early 80s, where it was the men would mostly work, the women would be mostly home, but they would my mum had a job in a bar and my nana worked in a car, but it was always around your family. But the way I see it, and I love that question because I was sitting reflecting as well. It's I grew up in the heart of this very close-knit community on this council estate with all of these really strong women. You wouldn't cross these women. Do you know what I mean? So the man might have earned the money, but the women definitely ruled the roost. But I remember when I sit and reflect now, thinking, I just knew that wasn't the life I wanted. It's just something in me knew. And I remember I would say to my mum and stuff, I just wanted something different. I had no idea what that was. I just knew that life felt claustrophobic to me. It felt wonderful growing up, and that's why community is very important. It has massively shaped us. I think from the Northeast, we are some of the biggest hearted people that you're ever going to meet. When I went to uni, I went to Liverpool because it was a very similar kind of vibe. This very family atmosphere, lovely people, very warm, would give you the last penny out of the pocket if you needed it, And I feel in our business, we are like that. We're very generous. We love community. We will always help and support you. I think those qualities 100% are what I witnessed. And we get to be the circuit breakers. We get to be the generation of the women that say, you get to do that and have community and have love and be generous. And you get to have a business, have a baby and work and rather than but or instead of or this or that, where like have it all girls, whatever that means to you. And I just think the women I grew up, I saw sacrifice, and I believed that to be a good woman for a long time, you sacrificed for your family. So I would go and work away, and the sacrifice was that I just didn't get to see my kid. And that was okay because he had a nice house. And then when we were like, well, is that true? Can you have both? Can you have it all? Well, yes, you got to decide what that is first and what it means to you, and set that intention for the universe to come and help you make happen. But until I realized that I was sacrificing my happiness for the whole, I was just doing it in a different way to what I'd seen the women do when I was growing up. Their sacrifice was being at home and not having a job. Mine was not being at home and having a job that paid a lot of money. I'd kind of still for another, and then I was like, fuck this. Like, this wasn't what I signed up for. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely one extreme to the other, isn't it? It's like, it's bizarre when you think about it. It's only kind of one generation that's kind of shifted. So it's probably leads quite nicely on to my next question. I can't get my words out today. But if what are your hopes for the Northeast in the future when you think about like our community? What would you hope would be the big changes within that? When you think about the next generation, what would you like to see?
Like, I think we were talking about this again when we were meeting a lot of people at TEDx and stuff. It's always, I just think the Northeast is always seen as one of these lovely but underfunded, disadvantaged areas. You know, like Middlesbrough was literally voted the worst place to grow up a girl.
To be born a girl.
Was it?
Yeah,
wow,
yeah.
I did not know that.
That was why Michaela Rainey and the Opportunity Global Group wanted to do the first ever TEDx Women outside of London in Middlesbrough, because that's where she's from. And she's like, you know, all this investment and attention goes everywhere else, and it's almost like you have to be so good to London to be successful, or you have to. We are Northeast born and bred. Yes, I lived away for a while because I was at uni and stuff, but we love that our businesses in the Northeast. We've ran a lot of our events in the Northeast or in the North. You know what I mean? We did one in London last week. It's the first one we've done in 6 years, and we're like, we probably won't do it again. You know, it was lovely, but we love being up in the North. Like, for us, we don't want children to be growing up thinking, well, I have to move in order to be successful. Like, what's that about? I don't want my son to have to move to have a successful career. If that's what he wants, if he wants to travel and do whatever, fine, go and do that. But do you know what I mean? There's a lot of, if you really want to get big money or make good money or have a successful business, then you have to move away. And we just don't think that's true. And we're seeing our clients succeed from wherever they are, and knowing that that's really not true. So I just think there's a really big stigma about it being disadvantaged, and it probably has been financially over the years, but I just think let's redress that, and then let's encourage people to be here and set their businesses up and do all the things here, because it's a beautiful place to live. Like, we could live anywhere if we wanted to, and we actually choose to live here. So
yeah, definitely. I think that's the biggest thing for what I noticed again when I moved away, because one of the reasons that we gave for moving is that, yes, I got offered this wonderful job, and it was a lot more money, and it seemed the right move to make for my family. But one of the other reasons that we would say, like, oh, well, we're moving down to Leeds, we're closer to Manchester, there's a lot more opportunities for the children when they're older. And I found myself leaning into that dialogue, but then actually being down here for 9 years and then now wanting to move back up, because I'm just like, it's a load of bollocks, really. Like, we're all so closely connected anyway. I'm only 2 hours away. It's not like it's the back end of nowhere. I'm very much behind that belief that the Northeast, yes, it's got this persona, but actually, when you look deeper into it, it's just so rich in everything. And like you said, not necessarily financially, but I think the people, the culture, the heritage, like, it's just such a wonderful place. That, yeah, let's shout about it more.
A sense of humour as well. Don't forget about that.
Oh, I mean,
Oh yeah, way out.
my friend at university always used to say to me, nobody can swear like a Geordie. It's like an art. It just sounds better when you say the swear words. I'm like, I agree, it does. It comes across just with a bit more oomph. But I was really hung up about our accent. So as a girl growing up, I believed that my accent would hold me back. I was very paranoid about it. And when I went to university in Liverpool, I remember one day somebody saying to me, somebody asked me a question in this group setting. And this guy actually looked and said to me, oh, you'll not do very well with an accent like that. I literally came out. And had I not already had a hang up about it, I probably would have forgotten the comment. I can't remember the guy's face. I couldn't tell you his name, but I remember how that comment made me feel. So then going into boardrooms and things, years later, I believed that I wouldn't be taken seriously because of my accent. Based on no evidence, people would say, "Oh, I love your accent," and I was like, "Oh, they love it, but it's cute." They don't really take it seriously. And what's very interesting is it comes up a lot, doesn't it, when we talk about imposter syndrome, when we do masterclasses. And sometimes we'll do masterclasses and have like 2,000 people on them for imposter syndrome, right? And when we talk about like my story about my accent, it was really one of the things I would have a hang up about. A lot of women, something very, very senior, are like, oh God, me too. And women have actually told us that companies have offered to give them elocution lessons so that their accent doesn't hold them back.
No way.
Can we just wake up a little bit, people?
Oh, but what year is it?
I'm like, what bollocks is it, right? So I just think there's still a lot of shame and stigma about certain regional accents and things. I mean, now when we did the book and we went out on Facebook and we said, would you like to have a professional narrator do the book, or would you like it to be our voices doing the book? And not one person, and there was a lot of comments, not one person said, and we were like, well, we did, like, don't you dare, you're all about authenticity, like, what would you, we love your voices, we've got you in our heads when we're worrying about what to do, when we have your voice and Cheryl's voice. But we genuinely didn't know the answer. We wanted to do it because we're like, it is our book, but actually people prefer to have it in a neutral accent. We weren't hung up about it, but it was just funny, wasn't it? It was like, don't you dare was the answer to that.
You can be called Become the Real You, and
with somebody else's voice. It was quite big when we asked it, but oh my God, honestly, it was. And so people love it now, when it's on Audible, and they're like, we love it because it's like, we've got your voices. And I think there is something very reassuring about a Northeast accent. I think there is something friendly and warm about it. Even when you're telling someone off, it's like it's got a warmth to it sometimes.
I'm not sure your husband would agree.
Not sure he'll agree. When he's born with his body, when he starts feeling and talking like a fish.
Did you have a few way eyes in there? Did you when you did the book?
No, there isn't any colloquial. But this is the funny thing. So I was brought up, I wasn't allowed to speak slang, even though I was on this like council estate and stuff. My mum just always brought me up, so like I don't ever speak slang words. I've got obviously a strong accent, but slang words don't come out. So if Caleb says a slang word, I do correct him, like, no, we don't do that. But it's just because that's what I grew up with. I couldn't understand my granddad a lot of the time when he spoke, but Neil could have. I was like, that what was that word then?
It's my dad's like that,
isn't it? Yeah, it's funny with dialect because it's things like different words. Like my partner's from Durham, and he didn't know what a cracket meant.
I don't know what a cracket is.
He does not know what a cracket is.
No,
he is not. What's
must be an Ashton thing.
Maybe it's just me then.
It is. Yeah. What is it?
A cracket. It's a stool next to the fireplace.
I did not know that.
Did you not know that?
No.
Every day is a learning day.
Every day. I remember going to university, and back in the day, because we didn't have mobile phones and we had proper dictionaries, and I studied languages. So I had like a Spanish dictionary, a French dictionary, a German dictionary, and I remember saying to someone, "Don't be so bloody impotent," and they were like, "That's not even a word." And I was like, "Yes, it's a word. Impotent. It means like you're being rude and picky." And it gets the dictionary out, not in there. I'm like, fuck it up. Like, but I didn't know that. And it was like impertinent, like impotent. And I'm like, that's so funny. But this is the thing about the Northeast is you can literally go 2 miles up the road and have a different dialect, different words, different. Given like the proximity of us, I love the range of the accents and the subtleties. That my husband will go, oh no, that's an Ashington accent, or that's a Cramlington. And I'm like, I don't know the difference. I can barely tell Sunderland from Newcastle. I'm not very good at this stuff, but I love that richness and diversity in such a small space.
Oh, you've learned something today, girls. Crack it. Oh, no, that's like a Pitmatic thing, maybe. Because obviously I came from like a mining family. My grandma and my granddad was a miner. My grandma had, she was busy having lots and lots of children. She had 15. And that's, so there was always a cracket next to the fire. Warm your ass on the cracket.
Yeah. Cracket. I love that. You're going to have to look up the etymology of the word and let us know.
Yeah, crack it. Google. Little wooden spoon. It's probably in Beamish somewhere.
Oh, brilliant. So I'll ask you one last question before we have a little bit of fun at the end. And I know that, Cheryl, this is probably your least favourite question, and I do apologise. But what does Geordie pride mean to you? And I'll let you explain why you don't like that question.
Mackem pride mean to you?
Yeah, Mackem pride.
I know. What does it mean? Like, I just feel like your grounding's like where you're brought up. Like, it doesn't matter how much your house costs. Like, it's just in you, isn't it? Like, you should be proud wherever you are born, like wherever you're brought up. And yes, you go into Sunderland town centre where I live, and like the town centre's like a shit show, but it's like the town centre where I live. So I'll still go down there on a Saturday, and I'll go to the shops that I like going to, and I'll go to Jackie White's market. Do you know what I mean? Because that's where I was brought up. And yes, it's not as flash as some of the other city centres, but it's like my city centre. So I just embrace it. And if I want to go and visit somewhere else in a different place, I can. But then this is like my home. And I live next to the seafront as well. So you can't.
And who doesn't want that?
Then some of our northeast beaches that we'll have as well. So, yes.
Yeah, for me, Geordie pride, it's really what Cheryl, it's like, I'm from a place of such warmth and cultural heritage and like this amazing background of invasions, and like I love all the history of it. And all good Geordie girls come home. I've been and lived away, and I've lived abroad, and I've lived in different parts, but I was like a little homing bird. I came home because I do think it's just such a beautiful place to live. And, bringing Caleb up here, I want him to be really proud of his heritage, of where he's from, of what he's from, of what he stands for. For me, Geordie stands for warmth, community, like we said before, and that like just overflowing generosity that you get when you come here.
Oh, that's lovely. Yeah, I agree with both you ladies, and I will hopefully join you back up in the northeast very soon. But before we wrap up, I want to just have a little fun quick fire round. So me and Angela are going to give you some little questions, and it's just first that comes to mind. Right. So are you ready?
Yes.
Oh, right. This is a hard one, girls. Stotty cake or peas pudding?
Stotty cake.
Both.
All girls.
Cake with peas pudding on it.
Yeah, I want. Yeah.
Great. What's your favourite? You might have alluded to this already. Your favourite Geordie saying or word?
Hinny, because my nanny used to say hinny.
Oh, I love that. I miss that so much. Down here, they call each other love, and it's like, it's a way man pet. Like, come on.
Right, next one, girls. What's your top spot to visit in the northeast?
Like for me, it's across the road where I live on Seaburn Beach.
Yeah, for me, it's South Shields. Like literally, that's the beach there in South Shields, and I love it. It's clean and gorgeous, and the views are spectacular.
Love it. I love the beaches. We're so lucky with the beaches.
Okay.
Next one. What's your go-to order at Greg's?
Vegan sausage roll. But now they do vegan steak bakes, and I highly recommend them.
I've not seen those.
And you can buy them in Iceland. Greg's Vegan Steak Bakes.
Last one, girls. Describe the northeast of England in 3 words.
It's a hard
Down
one.
to earth.
Scenic. Funny as fuck. All hyphenated, so yeah, down there.
Oh, that was brilliant. Thank you so much for doing that. It's good sport, because I think sometimes when you get quick fire ones, it gets a bit panicky. I've done that before on a podcast and I was like, I don't know what to say. I need to prepare.
Never run dry.
But before we say goodbye, I just want to ask if there's anything else that you want to share with our listeners, any upcoming projects or events, or where they can find you online.
We've got some really exciting things coming up, events. We've got the Chateau retreat in June over in Cognac. Unfortunately, there are no chateaus in the northeast of England. We have to go to France for that one. And yet we've got some online. We've got an amazing, some free workshops coming up online as well, but it's top secret at the minute. I can't tell you about them. So I would say just come and join us on Instagram or Facebook, and that now is your time too. And drop us a DM, say hi. You're always welcome in our movement.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Donna and Cheryl, for joining us today. It's been a real pleasure just chatting to you and catching up and listening to all your thoughts about the Northeast. And thank you, everybody, for listening. Thanks so much for listening. If you've enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support Geordie Pride further, then don't forget to subscribe, share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review. To catch all the latest from us, you can follow us on Instagram @Geordie Pride. Until next time, keep that Geordie Pride shining bright.